will be recorded and the recording will be made available after the webinar. You should receive an email within 2 or 3 hours after the webinar containing a link to the recording and some of the details from the webinar. My name is Scott Olson. I'm Director of Marketing at Trade Ideas. Your host today is Daniel Merkin, CEO and founder of Trade Ideas. Feel free to ask questions in the questions panel, and Brad Williams, a managing partner, and myself will be available to address those. Dan?
Hi, Scott, and thank you very much for the introduction. First of all, we know it's late, especially on the East Coast, and we appreciate everyone for taking their time and visiting with us and listening to what we have to say about financial technology and investments. We have a very exciting webinar today, and and what we're going to talk about is how our artificial intelligence engine works to find things like trade of the week. But this one is going to be really interesting because we switched focus a little bit on the last trade of the week to give our subscribers something a little bit more exciting. So before we jump into it, let's go with the legal. And all the information that comes out of Trade Ideas is not investment advice. We are not registered investment advisors, and nothing that we provide should be construed as official investment advice. Before you do any kind of investing, you should talk to a professional investment advisor who can advise you on your specific needs. Trade Ideas is more suited as a general education provider. So with that out of the way, let's jump into the agenda. We're going to talk about the trade of the week, and we're going to talk about how our technology saves time in terms of research, and specifically discussing the research component of that tech. Like, how do we find these patterns? What is it that we look for, and why is it a little bit harder for other people to spot them? So I'm going to jump right in. Also, just so that you know that throughout the webinar, we're going to take little breaks where Scott can introduce some of the promotions that we have running. I mean, we have so much exciting stuff going on that this is the ultimate best time to take advantage of what we're doing. We're really pushing forward on the technology side of both what we're creating with our artificial intelligence and also how we're delivering it. So we're very excited, and there's going to be a lot of cool promotions coming that you should be taking advantage of. So let's dive right in. Usually before we start, I always give a little bit about my background, and this is a story about me from Austin, Texas, when I was 26 years old, when dinosaurs ruled the world. And and I just so that you guys know that I've been doing this for a very long time, and it took me, approximately 10 years to become, expert level where I was feeding myself and involved on the business end of the technology. So part of the reason why we talk about that is that almost everybody that subscribes to Trade Ideas Trade of the Week and just uses Trade Ideas technology to help themselves invest just doesn't have the time to spend 10 years practicing the market and all the little nuances so that they can succeed. And what we did as a business is we decided to create technology that basically mimics what a successful investor or trader looks for, and automates that to you via a stream of information that you can then peruse and decide for yourself how you should interact with it. So again, that's the introduction. I've been doing it a long time, and now the tale of two stocks and artificial intelligence. So what's really cool about the stock market right now is kind of what was cool about it back when I was starting out, in the 90s. And if you saw that, 1994 was an incredible time to be in the stock market because the dot-com bubble hadn't even started yet. In fact, there was no dot-com at all. But there were these interesting stocks like Microsoft and Intel and Dell Computer, and I learned how to interact with the market trading them, and it was incredible because even those stocks, although they're not the Googles and the Teslas, they had an incredible run, a run that could have possibly built wealth if you were smart enough to be in them. So we have a tale of two stocks. So these stocks are different, and the reason that I'm pointing it out is that hopefully you can see that when you kind of look at them in this context, they look pretty similar, you know, just at the very high level. You can see that there's kind of a flat area and then an explosive move to the upside. Part of what we're trying to do at Trade Ideas is distill complex mathematics into something that human beings can relate to because they can kind of relate to it. So at the high level, one of these stocks turned out to be one of the most amazing investments over the course of 2015, and we're going to talk about it. And the other one is the Trade Ideas Trade of the Week. And the interesting part about all this is look at how similar they look. Most of you, or some of you, may already know which stock is which. But as we get to it, what we're going to discuss is that the market presents incredible opportunities. And the question is, how are you going to take advantage of them? Because that's ultimately what's going to determine how you can succeed in the stock market. You know, do you do it the traditional way where you let other people do it for you, or do you manage it a little bit on your own and see if you can find a stock like we're going to be discussing? So in terms of artificial intelligence and the Trade Ideas Analytics Engine, imagine this example, but imagine in the back of each one of each one of these stocks, there's thousands of other pictures. And the computer is constantly comparing them, one to another, candle to candle, and is asking itself, okay, which things matter in this movement and which don't? Because underneath every candle, there's so many data points. You know, our eyes just kind of put it all together because that's the way we're taught to interpret this data. But there's a lot of stuff happening underneath. How did the volume get there? It wasn't just, you know, a bar. That bar formed, and what did it form like, and so on and so forth. So the computer is comparing all this information, and it stores this information that's relevant and throws out the information that isn't, and lets us be alerted to when something very important comes through. So, and that's, again, why we decided to showcase the Trade Ideas Trade of the Week this way in a slightly different fashion. So, first of all, let's talk about what was not the Trade Ideas Trade of the Week, which is LTC Voltaire, or Voltaire, sorry. So this stock is a great example of how wealthy people become more wealthy and what the stock market is able to do. At the very, very, very lower end of the consolidated range, Voltaire was trading around like $1.50. And when it first started to make some noise, it quickly jumped up to $2.50, you know, almost doubling. At which point you can see that that candle where people were like, well, clearly this move is overvalued. The next day, it was sold off a little bit, but then those sales were met with interesting buyers. The following day, it just completely shot into a different era, and finally everyone was saying, okay, now the pump is on, the move is done, 300%, let's sell into it. And so the next day, they sold into it a little bit, and the next day they brought it back, but then another wave of buyers came in. And you can almost see here again that the reason I'm kind of pointing this out candle by candle is you have to honestly ask yourself, at which point do you get out? Because there is no fancy rules written by guys that wrote technical analysis books that talk about this. And that's okay because it's not a situation that happens all the time. However, if you want to be in the stock market for the search of something like this, and there is no insider information here, although obviously at the top I'm pointing out the fact that Carl Icahn had started to invest in this company, and this is what all the rumors were and everything. But look at when the stock was at $10 and all of this information was already out. At that point, you surely to yourself thought that it was time to get out. And then it runs another 10 points. The stock market could be incredible. And our job at Trade Ideas is to expose our subscribers to this information. This is information you're not going to hear a lot about, on the Wall Street Journal or other places, because again, it gets played down because most people just never heard of it. People still fantasize about Apple Computer, and there's nothing wrong with that because Apple is fantastic, but there's quite a bit of difference between what you could have done with the shares of Apple between $200 and $500 versus what you could do with several thousand shares of VLTC between $2.50 and $20. It's, again, this is real. This is the possibility, and this is what we want you to be excited about. And again, these arrows that I drew out are just arrows of you asking yourself that question, when is it done? And this is what our AI is looking for. This is what we hunt for. So our subscribers that have been asking us, well, when did your AI, your magic AI, pick up this VLTC? So I had written, I'd actually started doing that research, and it was very close to the beginning of the move, because again, we were alerted to it just on the excuse me, we were alerted to it on the social volume radar, but then we got the full signal on the swing trade at a little bit of a higher price. But what's interesting is this, and this is what I really like about showing you guys Trade Ideas and how it works and everything. So notice here we're pointing out when the first signals for VLTC came across, and look at that. I mean, it hadn't even hit $6 yet. Well, at that point, but I took the picture of our social radar window, and here's the price. $6.77. Let's go back real quick. That's right here. So on this day, I was talking to everybody about VLTC and how we found it, and talking about it on Twitter. And I mean, and again, if you follow me, you can see all of that stuff that we were doing. Because again, our software is telling us that, hey, you need to be paying attention. So this was an incredible stock, and our subscribers did get a chance to participate in this move, and this is what the Trade of the Week technology is really all about. So I'm going to, again, now that hopefully I've gotten your interest, Scott, I'm going to let you jump in and talk a little bit about our offers.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Do you mind changing to the first slide that has a product code? Thank you. Yeah, something we like to do for everyone that attends our webinars is give them some value for coming to the webinar in the first place. And whether or not you're a subscriber currently, you can use this. It's a code that gives you 30% off of anything in your cart when you're checking out. So for example, if you want to pick up the Oddsmaker today, rather than paying $1,100 for the lifetime license, it's only $770. So that code is April22Web. So it's today's date in web, all caps, April22Web. So it'll let you try the starter month, which we have for $99 for only $69.30. Get your first month of our regular subscription for only $52.50. You can start the Advantage player for just $165.20. This code does expire on Friday, so please take advantage of it before then. And for those of you who already understand the true value of Trade Ideas, if you can go to the next slide, Dan. This is our best deal that we offer right now. Just take a look at it. You get a full year of Trade Ideas, which is a $628 value. the lifetime Oddsmaker license, $1,100 value, and an optimized strategy, which we charge $250 for retail per strategy. All of that for $8.99. So to get that, you go to your web browser and type in that bit.ly short link. You don't need to type the HTTP, but that's there. Just type bit.ly/899saver and use all caps for the saver. And that will take you there. You're also going to receive these links and the product code in the email that you'll get to the email address that you use to register for the event shortly following the event. But I do encourage you to take advantage of this one if you understand that Trade Ideas is a good value. This comes out to be under $3 a day, so I think this is $2.46 a day for the year purchasing this, and it gives you the lifetime Oddsmaker. So it's absolutely a killer deal. We're probably going to retire this offer by summertime. We're not quite sure of the date. I would take advantage of it if you understand what a value we are. And if you talk to anyone that uses us, go to our forum, forums.tradeideas.com. That link is in the chat. And talk with people who use us. And you'll see. Dan?
Thank you, Scott. And also, just, again, as a real quick intermission between what Scott's saying and the rest of my presentation, we love to hear from you. We're very active in social media. You can get a hold of us by following us on Twitter. I am at TradeIdeas1, and I'm one of the more active Trade Ideas social media contributors. I often post my P&L and my positions on Twitter so that you can see what I'm doing and see how I am engaging with our technology. As you saw from the article in the introduction, this technology was originally made to help me be a professional trader, and now it can help you do the same thing, but way better, because had I had this when I started, it would have been a completely different story. So, okay, let me now find where we were before. Okay, so VLTC is the stock that everybody wanted to be in. That's the kind of the high level. And there's just no denying the fact that this is incredible. There is no shortage of volume. This wasn't something that came in, and all of a sudden gapped up $20. This was all tradable, okay? So just very, very, the kind of potential that's there, you're not going to find that in real estate. And that's why everybody's here. That's what you're on this webinar to learn about, and this is what we're showing you. So again, the stock of, this is when I often, as part of what I do on social media, and this is again part of how I communicate, is I showcase what our technology is doing so that it can be verified. And here again, I took a picture of me showcasing VLTC when it was at 677, approximately 13 points below where it is today. Okay, so that brings us to our trade of the week, which is WGGL, and what the Trade Ideas software thought was kind of exciting about it. So it doesn't have to be identical. Like there's people that believe that it has to be the same exact thing. We're not going to get Carl Icahn to invest in WGGL. However, based on past analysis of what our software believes takes place before a significant up move, and by the way, when it says it believes, that's just based on statistical data. That doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to happen. But if you were a betting person, the exciting opportunity right now looks to be in VGGL, because there's the potential to get in even at these price levels under $3 and be able to lose a relatively small amount should the stock pull back to its trading range and you were wrong. And that's what is the marriage of the best of, the best of both worlds. Of course, having the gumption to be able to purchase VLTC. Let's go back here. You know, look how overbought it looked at $5.56. I mean, this is, you would feel like you were an idiot here. And yet, everything is relative in terms of idiocy. I mean, this is the lesson that I've learned over 25 years of investing to make money. You really do have to be open to this type of opportunity. And back when I was a youngster, it was this company called iOmega. They made this thing called the disk drive. I'm aging myself. But back to, again, just consider how overbought that looks in relative terms, and think of what happened thereafter. And this candle, it's just quite an amazing thing. And our software is constantly on the lookout for this behavior. So here's what it's saying, is that this move, the fact that you have this big spike on the volume, where the volume was significantly higher, and there was a shift in a perceived trend. And again, this is just a small picture and relating it in human terms. Okay? It ran up, and then it had a nice little pullback. And if you guys were here for the last Trade Ideas Trade of the Week, I'm pretty certain that I said, and by the way, if there's anything you take away from all of this, is VGGL, and I think it was like a $1.99. Scott will have to correct me if we taped the last one, or if that was the one that had poor audio.
That was the one we lost the audio on that one. Sorry.
Dang it, Newman! Okay, well, we had bad audio, but I think we pulled it up on a graph, and look what's happening since then. Since 199, I mean, in terms of percentage terms, I mean, this is what it's about. And you know, when we were first bringing out the Trade Ideas Trade of the Week, our whole idea was to really kind of create a gentle introduction to people that aren't necessarily subscribers to our service, but just want to, you know, have a feeling of, well, what does computerized technology feel like and look like when it comes to making investment decisions? And we're doing our best to try to communicate that here is what we do that differentiates the process from what most people do when they are making investment decisions. And that is that when you look at this chart, you know, you kind of visually sum everything up very clearly. You can see, okay, this was some sort of support, and then it breaks right here, and then it just keeps going lower and lower and lower and lower, and then support, breakout, support, 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 and then big breakout. You can say that, and in terms of this one stock, you are correct. But the interesting part that happens is the part that you can't do, which is you can't instantly see, well, what happens in these situations over thousands of other times. That's our fault for being human, and that's the difference between the process of a successful investor or trader who's really taking advantage of alpha opportunities. Alpha is being able to do better than the market. I mean, I hope you realize that it's kind of interesting that you give your money to other people to manage, and for the most part, they're primarily concerned about not making money, but just keeping up with the averages, meaning that, you know, you could really just do it all yourself. And then you're taught this notion about, well, you know, it's all about the long term. Well, why does it have to be that? Why does it have to be the long term when it can take a month to make 10 years worth of money sometimes? You know, imagine just for a minute that you had, you know, 10,000 shares at $2.50. I mean, that's a big difference in your lifestyle in a month. And that's the thing that we want to expose Trade Idea subscribers to, is that this is not the realm of high frequency trading. This is not about being able to figure out some sort of calculus and arbitrage. This is about just having access to information where you listen to the right things. And from that perspective, we're also very cognizant of the fact that most of you are professionals. Why do you need to know how to configure Trade Ideas to do it for you, when we can help you with that, where our AI can assist you in all of that, where again, if you take the time to go to our homepage and look at our video, I mean, we did that video, the intro video to Trade Ideas a little while ago, but it still rings very true, where we said you ought to be the CEO of your financial empire, and CEOs don't sit there and do this charting thing, which I don't do. I do that for the presentation. All that done is behind the scenes by our computers. And then the CEO allows me to allocate capital and take advantage of things like hopefully I'm going to do with VGGL, which is again the Trade Ideas Trade of the Week. So our customers who take advantage of the $8.99 get access to the Oddsmaker, as Scott pointed out. I mean, this is such an incredible deal that I was posting this on Twitter. And what I love about it is, look at the date. This is the 14th. And what you're seeing there is a prelude to what our software is going to do in terms of a full channel that's simply devoted and dedicated just to artificial intelligence messaging of highly statistically probable, or at least measurably statistically probable signal. So here's an example of what that looks like, and I have this in what's called a Trade Ideas multi-strategy window. And for those that are subscribers, they know what it is. But so here I'm pitching you guys a trade in real time. So I'm on the West Coast in California, and I'm pointing out, in this example, because I was saying this is like cheating. It was so good that day. So WUBA comes out at $60.22. I mean, this is all timestamped. But this is the time, and it says it's ready for a 5-day swing long. 1 point stop for first day. Love the chart on this one. So what we're trying to do again is we're trying to communicate a little bit more in a linguistic format. So we're playing around with some ideas on that. But this all happened the same day. So here we give you the signal, and literally that same day it runs up 7 points. And again, that is not to say that that's what you should expect. That's like that commercial. Performance. Results may vary, but what we're trying to show you is that we don't just make this stuff up. This is the feed that I was getting in real time, and there's other incredible names in there. And this is what you should be watching, because WUBA is another example of the non-standardized returns and things that happen in the market. Here's a stock, news comes out and boom, the whole time, So the future of financial engagement, I think, is much more interesting than simply handing over your money to somebody else to throw into another program that's run by some gigantic mutual funds. As information gets disseminated in an interesting way, there's opportunities for people who are engaged, yourselves, because you're here, late at night listening to me, to take advantage of what I am showing you, which is a stream of information to take advantage of opportunities that only the market has in it. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take some time and answer a couple of questions. And then I'm going to, again, show you some other slides, and hopefully we don't have to, again, stay too long because this is a nice condensed webinar, and I'm excited to, again, to present this information to you and hopefully get you on the right path. So let's see. Look at some questions. Do your algorithms cover stocks priced from a... Yes. So do we have algorithms that can watch for super small stocks? Yes. You can design that, but obviously you'd have to have a completely different algorithm for that. Debbie, I only do that for demonstration purposes, and the stops can be adjusted, and they can be percents. So, a lot of times, again, the key is primarily to get in and not be exposed to enough volatility to get you out. So, I try to keep things that somewhat basic, so it's around $1 for the kind of stocks that I'm playing here.
Just real quick, I noticed that I may have been wrong about us losing the audio on the last trade of the week webinar. The audio we lost was the tax day webinar last Wednesday the 15th. So if you're referring to the one that was on the 8th, then yes, that does have audio, and I did drop that link into chat with my apologies. So you can find those also by visiting our YouTube channel, clicking on playlists, and going to the webinars playlist.
Fantastic. So one other thing that we do for a lot of our subscribers is we create custom strategies for them for $250 per strategy. And this answers a lot of kind of field questions. Like some people just want to trade a very specific list of stocks, or they have very specific characteristics of a volume environment that makes them feel very comfortable for staying overnight. So we can simply ask our computer to modify the baselines to adjust for that. And if there is a good strategy to be had with that baseline, our computers will look for it and find it. It's a good point to think about. If you want to, just think about another perspective. Look at company like Wealthfront and Betterment. There's a lot of people who are now starting to go full auto on the wealth management side. So where the advisor is becoming automated itself. But again, those things are really designed just to keep your money safe. If you're looking to capture alpha, if you're looking to do something better, you simply have to have a tool like Trade Ideas that exposes you to unusual behavior. So, okay, while I'm answering questions, I'll keep the link for the specials up, and let's see if there's anything else. Okay, I mean, it looks like everything's kind of... So did everybody understand in terms of what we were communicating in terms of the trade of the week and that explosive volume-driven up move from like a consolidation range? That's kind of what that's what triggered our AI to say that VGGL is something that you guys should be looking at. So there's a great question. How do you allocate capital when there's so many suggested trades? I mean, Debbie, that's the ultimate question. The idea is this: depending on what kind of strategies you're looking for, you sometimes do it by the odds, and then that's part of the field. So that's where the humanity comes in, and that's the beautiful marriage of AI and the human being. You don't have enough money to probably trade everything the way you want to be trading it because, again, funds are limited. So the idea is that, pick it out. Like, to me, one example is VGGL. Okay, why did we... Let me go back real quick. Let's see here. Okay, so first of all, remember VLTC? Look at this gap up and right around here when it looked extended. very similar to, you know, how it's forming right here. So what I like about this, and Debbie, this goes towards your question, so believe me, I'm going to get to it. Debbie asks, how do you allocate capital? Well, one of the things that I like, okay, is feeling comfortable that if I'm wrong, right, I can kind of see my downside very clearly of where I would, you know, because even if it started to go into this area, I would already say to myself, I don't need to stay there, you know, and let the reshuffling take place, because whatever transpired obviously wasn't enough. If you look at this trade, okay, like if I'm getting in right here, and by the way, I was in this one, so I'm just saying that the difference in the profile is a $50 or $60 stock that has big volatility like this one is having. I mean, if you're in like 300 shares, you know that you could quickly be down $1,000. You know, so you kind of feel the volatility, and you know, like, okay, well, am I comfortable doing that or not, depending on the day profile? Whereas, so even though I was in this one, I feel more comfortable, at least a little bit safer here, just for the, you know, for the profile of the trade. Again, I'm in both. I mean, I already got out of the WUBA, but I played both of them, but that's how I would kind of evaluate it. Debbie, does that make sense? You know, like, what kind of range is the move coming out of? Okay, any more questions? Okay, great. Well, listen, I'm going to go back to the promo links. This is an incredible opportunity for everybody to try this technology, and hopefully we're showing you the reasons why you should be taking advantage. The real key, though, is this. The access to our AI gives you the kind of like helping hand. It's that assistant. It's your Google navigation for driving around places you haven't been to. And that's what the stock market really is. You know, when you're exploring a stock like VGGL, you know, like, I've never been to this stock, but a navigation system has. You know, and that's kind of the metaphor for what we're doing. And when we bring the AI channel live, so that AI channel is going to cost an additional add-on fee to Trade Ideas because it'll just be a pay-per-view add-on. However, for those people that have access to the Oddsmaker, this promotion, they will have that for free. So they will not have any additional cost as it relates to, you know, as it relates to that. So Debbie, yes, it's not perfect. That happens. And again, you put in stop losses, but part of the risk that you take is the risk of being in the market. We never, ever, ever profess that all the system signals are accurate. We just say that there are statistics behind them. And when you look at a chart visually, there are no statistics behind it. It's a question of how do you want to speculate.
And just to reiterate what a great value the $8.99 deal and the 30% deal off is also, think about how long Trade Ideas has been established as a service serving this market. We started serving clients in 2003, I believe, and the management has never changed and has never lost its vision. There's very few software companies in this field that you can say that about. And to give us additional credibility, think about the fact that we've just won the first annual Benzinga FinTech Award for best-in-class options or stock screening tool.
Yeah, maybe we forgot to add that slide. That's
you know, and also consider all of our strategic partnerships and how long we've been together with those strategic partnerships. Scottrade, E-Trade, each for over 8 years, right?
Absolutely. I mean, they understand that the value, and we've been kind of ahead of the curve, and the information flow is starting to catch up. So we're very excited about what's happening. And just to be clear, you know, AI is not a silver bullet. This is not some goose that laid the golden egg. This is just an intelligent way to approach speculation, which is what you do when you actively invest. No, and Debbie, we love that you're here and that you're engaged and that you engage, and we understand all of your questions. They're great questions because they're just the questions of somebody who wants to engage and apply this to themselves. And part of it too is that you got to figure it out on your own a little bit. How do you do it? We can set up a training session for you, Debbie, with Jamie Hodge, who's one of our most experienced educators, and he has over 20 years of experience trading, and he's done it with doing it with our technology. So that's the point. So he can tell you kind of how people have got into it and progressed with it and stayed with it. I mean, we have customers who have been with us for over 10 years. Think about that. 10 years and trading. So yeah, no, we love the fact that you're experienced, and that's very good because it just gives you a better footing and a better foundation from where to move forward. So the one question is, what is Benzinga? Just Google it. Benzinga is one of the top financial news outlets right now. So the question is Trade Ideas, is it for day traders? No, not at all. It started out as a tool for people who are active, and active people tend to day trade. But as we've been talking about, the VLTC trade, for example, and again, that's obviously a very good example. This is not a day trade. In fact, this is a great segue into, if you were day trading VLTC, you could have successfully figured out how to lose money in every single direction, because there's just no way. It was so volatile. You shouldn't have been day trading it. You should have been hopefully in it around $4, but also around $6.77 would have been fine. You would have had to, of course, and Debbie, this goes to your point, you would have had to understand that you're risking a little bit more, right? But then also at the same time, why should something that's run up that much necessarily come down unless there was some serious, stuff behind it, and that's what, ended up happening there. So, no, Trade Ideas is not for day trading. It's for an active engagement. Engage in the market in a different way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the presentation and finish up with Trade Ideas. This is our software, and it gives you an incredible feel for what's going on in the market, just depending on what interests you. And one of the things that we talk about how is we add these channels as things become important. So drought in California is a big one, and we've added a channel for that, and we can make strategies based on themes. Would you like to be in stocks that gap up a lot in the pre-market or gap down a lot or have volume surges? We can ask the computer to distill the odds and say, well, show me what's a good 5-day swing, what's a good 10-day swing. That's what we do, and that's what that $250 additional service is. Or if you just buy Trade Ideas for the $8.99 price, you will get a strategy for that as well. So can Trade Ideas, there's a question, can it tell you when to get off? It can suggest, yes, absolutely. And because you can suggest based on the average winner or loser, you can basically say, okay, get me in, and let's say get out of half if I've gotten the average gain, and let the other half ride. That's one example of how people have approached it. So I want to thank everybody for taking their time and staying with us for almost a full hour. We really hope you take a look and try it out. Scott, anything else?
No, I just want to remind everyone to keep an eye on their email inbox in about 3 or 4 hours for a link to the replay of the video. And again, a reiteration of the product code and what it gets you, and a link to that $8.99 deal that hopefully any of you that understand the value of Trade Ideas will go ahead and take advantage of before we change it to a 2-year commitment to get that kind of roll in with the Oddsmaker. That's all. Thanks for joining us, guys. I enjoyed it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.